Good morning, students. This is Sivakrishna from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, CBS System Technology Kavali. Today I am going to presentation on design of mechanical springs. This is the conversion topic from the mechanical springs. So last class we can discuss about the sludge in springs, energy stored in helical springs of circular wire, problems on helical springs. So in this PPT we are going to presentation on stresses and deflection in helical springs of non-circular wire. And next, problems are helical springs by using a non-circular wire. Next, concentric compression, concentric or composite springs. Next, then problems are concentric and composite springs. So let us start the class. Stresses and deflection in helical springs of non-circular wire. The helical springs may be made of non-circular wires such as rectangular or square wire. In order to provide greater resilience in a given space, however, the springs have the following main advantages. So, in going to the helical springs is made up of a non-circular wire. In such cases, rectangular or square wire, in order to provide a greater resilience in the given space. So the springs is the following advantages are. So what are the advantages of the springs? The quality of material used for springs is not so good. The shape of the wire does not remain square or rectangle while forming helix, resulting in trapezoidal cross sections. It reduces the energy absorbing capacity of the spring. The stress distribution is not favorable as for circular wires, but this effect is negligible where loading is of static nature. For springs made up of rectangular wire, so as shown in the figure, the maximum shear stress is given by tau is equal to K into W into D 1.5 into T plus 0.9 into D B by B square into T square. So this is the calculation for the maximum shear stress formula. So we can see the figure. So this is the spring of rectangular wire. This is capital D is the main diameter of the spring. So W is the weight of the spring. So T is the thickness of the spring. B is the width of the spring. This expression is applicable when the long side, that is T greater than B, is parallel to the axis of spring, but the shortest side T less than B is parallel to the axis of the spring. The maximum shear stress tau is equal to K into W into D into 1.5 into B plus 0.9 into T by B square into T square. So this expression will be changed to the simultaneous changes. So the one is a large side. So T will be placed to B and parallel to the axis of the spring. In shortest distance T less than B is the parallel axis of the spring. So this will be T will replace to B. And deflection of the spring delta is equal to 2.45 W into D cube into N by capital G into B cube into T minus 0.56 B. For springs made of square wire, the dimensions B and T are equal. Therefore, the maximum shear stress is given by tau is equal to K into 2.4 into W into D by B cube. And the deflection of the spring delta is equal to 5.568 W into D cube into N by capital G into B power 4. That is equal to 5.568 W into C cube into N by G into B. since C is equal to capital D by small d, where B is equal to side of the square. Note the above expressions K is equal to 4C minus 1 by 4C minus 4 plus 0.615 by C, and C is equal to capital D by small b. Next, problems on helical springs. A loaded narrow gauge car of mass 1800 kg and moving at a velocity 72 meter per minute is brought to rest by a bumper consisting of two helical steel springs of a square section. The mean diameter of the coil is 6 times the side of the square section. The bringing car or to rest, the squares are to be compressed 200 mm, assuming the allowable shear stress as 365 megapascals and spring index of 6. So find maximum loaded of the each spring, side of the square section of the wheel, mean diameter of the coil, and number of active coils. So we can calculate the 4. We can finding these 4 m's. So take modulus of rigidity is 80 kilonewton per mm square. So for this problem we can note the given data. So mass m is equal to 1800 kg, velocity v is equal to 72 meter per minute. So this will be converted to meter per second. So 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So 72 divided by 60, that is equal to 1.2 meter per second. So delta is equal to 200 mm. Tau is equal to 365 megapascal. This will be converted to Newton per mm square. 360 Newton, 365 Newton per mm square. C is equal to 6. G is equal to 80 kilonewton per mm square. So this will be converted to Newton per mm square. So that is equal to 80 into 10 cube Newton per mm square. So first we can calculate the maximum load of the each spring. Let W is equal to maximum load of each spring. We know that the kinetic energy of the car, that is equal to half mv square, that is equal to 1 by 2 into 1800 into 1.2 whole square. Finally you can calculating. So 1296 Newton meter. So this will be converted to millimeters. 1296 into 10 cube Newton mm. This energy is absorbed in the two springs when compressed to 200 mm. If the springs are loaded gradually from 0 to W, then 0 plus W by 2 into 2 into 200, that is equal to 1296 into 10 cube. So finally look at calculating W is equal to 1296 into 10 cube divided by 200. So that is equal to 6480 newtons. So we can calculate the value. W is equal to 6480 newtons. So next, side of the square section of the wire. Let B is equal to side of the square section of the wire, and D is equal to mean diameter of the coil is equal to 6b. Since C is equal to capital D by small b, C is equal to 6 is given. C is equal to 6b. So capital D is equal to 6b. We know that the Wahal stress factor K is equal to 4C minus 1 by 4C minus 4 plus 0.165 by C, that is equal to 4 into 6 minus 1 by 4 into 6 minus 4 plus 0.615 by 6, that is equal to 1.2525. So we can calculate the value. K is equal to 1.2525, and maximum shear stress tau is equal to 365. So tau is equal to K into 2.4 into W into D by BQ. So substituting the values, tau is equal to 365 already given. So we are calculating the B. K is equal to 1.2525 into 2.4 into W, 6480 into D. 6b by b cube, that is equal to, can calculate the value, b square is equal to 1,16,870 divided by 365, that is equal to 320. B square is equal to 320 mm. So B is equal to 17.89. So this will be rounded to 18 mm. So finally the B is equal to 18 mm. So next you can calculate the mean diameter of the coil. So we know that the mean diameter of the coil D is equal to 6B. So substituting the B in this formula, D is equal to 6 into 18, that is equal to 108 mm. So capital D is equal to 108 mm. Next we can find out the number of active coils. So let N is equal to number of active coils. We know that the deflection of the spring delta is equal to 200 into 5.568 into W into C cube into N by capital G into small v. So this formula is noted down the stresses and deflection of the helical spring of non-circular coil. So this is the formula you can take in this problem. So substituting the values 5.5658 into 6480 into 6 cube into n by 80 into 10 cube into 18, that is equal to 5.4 n. So finally you can calculate the n. So n is equal to 200 divided by 5.4, that is equal to, so number of active coils is n is equal to 37. Next, springs in series. So the springs arranged in series. So how to calculate the problem by using the formula. So consider two springs connected in series as shown in the figure. So this is the K1 and K2 are two springs. So 1 and 2, this the weight will be applied to the top of the spring, weight W. Let W is equal to load carried by the spring. Delta 1 is equal to deflection of the spring 1. Delta 2 is equal to deflection of the spring 2. K1 is equal to stiffness of the spring 1, W by delta 1, and K2 is equal to stiffness of the spring 2, W by delta 2. A little conditions will show that when the springs are connected in series, then the total deflection produced by the spring is equal to the sum of the deflection of the individual springs. So the total deflection of the spring is equal to the sum of the deflection of the individual springs. So therefore the total deflection is equal to delta is equal to delta 1 plus delta 2, or delta means W by K is equal to W by K1 plus W by K2. So finally, therefore 1 by K is equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2, where K is the combined stiffness of the spring. So K is finally we can calculate the spring. So K is equal to combined stiffness of the spring. So 1 by K is equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. So this is the C springs in series. So next, springs connected in parallel. So we can see that we consider the two springs connected in parallel as shown in the figure. So as shown in the figure, this is the two springs connected in parallel direction. So K1 and K2. So in top of this spring will be connected to the weight load. So W is equal to load carried by the spring. W1 is equal to load sheared by spring 1. W2 is equal to load sheared by spring 2. So K1 is equal to stiffness of spring 1 and K2 is equal to stiffness of spring 2. So a little consideration will show that when the springs can connected in parallel, then the total deflection produced by the spring is the same as the deflection of the individual springs. So we know that W is equal to W1 plus W2. So delta K is equal to delta K1 plus delta K2. So cross multiplication, so common, the delta common, this cancels, remove change. Therefore K is equal to K1 plus K2, where K is the combined stiffness of the springs and delta equal to deflection produced. So this is the springs are connected in the parallel. So then go to the problems. Springs on helical spring by using the closure coil. Problem number 1. A closed coil helical compression spring of 12 active coils has a spring stiffness of K. It is cut into two springs having 5 and 7 turns. Determine the spring stiffness of resulting springs. So in this problem, so is given the closed coil helical spring is a 12 active coils. So in this 12 active coils, we cut into the two springs. So having 5 springs in one and 5 turns in one spring, 7 turns in another spring. So total 5 plus 10 equal to 12 active coils. So determine the spring stiffness of the resulting springs. So we can calculate the 5 turns in the spring stiffness and 7 turns in the spring stiffness of the resulting spring. So we can first of all we can note down the given data. So given n1 n is equal to 12, n1 is equal to 5, n2 is equal to 7. So n is the actual spring coils. So n1 is the one cut of the spring. So n2 is the second part of the spring. So we know that the deflection of the spring delta is equal to 8 into W into D cube into N by capital G into D power 4, or W by delta is equal to G into D power 4 by 8 into D cube into N. Since G, capital D and small d are constant, therefore substituting capital G D power 4 8 D cube is equal to X as a constant. So we have W by delta is equal to K is equal to X by N. So X means is a constant. So since X is equal to capital G D power 4 by 8 into D cube. So we can replace the G D power 4 8 D cube is X. So W by delta is equal to X by N. So X is equal to Kn, that is equal to, so N is 12, X is equal to 12K, or the springs is cut into two springs with N1 equal to 5 and N2 is equal to 7. So K1 is equal to stiffness of the spring having 5 turns and K2 is equal to stiffness of the spring having 7 turns. So finally the K1 is equal to X by N1 is equal to 12K by 5, that is equal to 2.5 K. So, and we can calculate the N2, K2 is equal to X by N2, that is equal to 12K by 7, that is equal to 1.7 K. So this is the solution for the spring stiffness of the resulting springs. So K1 is equal to 2.4 K, K2 is equal to 1.7 K. So next, concentric or composite springs. A concentric or composite springs is used for one of the following purposes: to maintain greater spring force within a given space, to ensure the operation of a mechanism in the event of failure of one of the springs. The concentric springs for the above two purposes may have two or more springs and have the same free length as shown in the figure A, and a compressed equally. Such springs are used in automobile clutches, valve springs in aircraft, heavy duty diesel engines, and railroad car suspension systems. The concentric springs, the above two purposes are the two or more springs are having the same free length as shown in the figure. So you can see the figure. So this is the figure A. So concentric springs will be arranged in the distance between the outer diameter is D1, inner diameter is D2. So d small d1 is the diameter of the wire. So small d2 is the diameter of the wire. So this will be replaced to the two springs we are arranging to each other. And these concentric springs will be used in different compressors equal to the springs are. So what are these two springs are used in automobile clutches, in valve springs, in aircraft, heavy duty diesel engines, and railroads car suspension system. Sometimes concentric springs are used to obtain the spring force, which does not increase in direct relation in the deflection but increases faster. Such springs are made up of different lengths as shown in the figure B. The shorter spring begins to act only after the long spring is compressed to a certain amount. These springs are used in governors of variable speed engines to take care of variable centrifugal forces. The adjacent coils of the concentric springs are wound in opposite direction to eliminate the tendency to blind. If the same material used, the concentric springs are designed for the same stresses. In order to get the same stress factor K, it is desirable to have the same spring index C. So we can see the figure B. So this is the length. L1 is the original length of the one spring. So L2 is the original length of the another spring. So D1 is the inner diameter of the spring and D2 is the outer diameter of the spring. So D1, small d1 is the inner wire dia of the one spring. So d2 is the wire diameter of the another spring. So the C is indicate the clearance between the one spring to another spring. So concentric or composite spring. So consider the concentric spring as shown in the figure. So you can see the figure. This is the concentric spring. So let W is equal to axial load. W1 is equal to load shared by outer spring. W2 is equal to load shared by inner spring. D1 small d1 is equal to diameter of the spring wire of the outer spring. D2 is equal to diameter of the spring wire of inner spring. So capital D1 mean diameter of the outer spring. Capital D2 mean diameter of the inner spring. So delta 1 deflection of the outer spring. Delta 2 deflection of the inner spring. So N1 number of active turns for outer spring, and final N2 number of active turns in inner spring. Assuming that both these springs are made up of same material, then the maximum shear stress induced in both the springs is approximately same. That is tau 1 is equal to tau 2, that is equal to 8 into W1 D1 K1 by pi into D1 whole cube, that is equal to 8 into W2 D2 K2 by pi into D2 whole cube. So when stress factor K1 is equal to K2, then W1 D1 by D1 cube, that is equal to W2 D2 by D2 cube. So this is the equation number 1. If the both springs are effective throughout their working range, then there is free length and deflection are equal. That is delta 1 is equal to delta 2. Eight W1 into D1 cube into N1 by D1 power 4 into G, that is equal to 8 W2 D2 whole cube into N2 by D2 whole power 4 into G, or W1 WD1 whole cube into N1 by D1 power 4, W2 D2 cube into N2 by D2 power 4. So we are cancelling the 8 and G. So when both the springs are compressed until the adjacent coils meet the solid length of both springs is equal to N1 D1 is equal to N2 D2. Therefore, the equation 2 may be written as W1 D1 cube by D1 power 5, that is equal to W2 D2 cube by D2 power 5. This is equation number 3. Now equating 3 by equation 1. By dividing equation 3 by equation 1, we have D1 square by capital D1 square by small d1 square, that is equal to D2 square by capital D2 square by small d2 square, or capital D1 by small d1 is equal to capital D2 by small d2, that is equal to C. This is spring index. So spring index is C is equal to capital D by small d. So we can note it as C. This is the equation number 4. That is, the spring should be designed in such a way that the spring index for both the spring is same. From equation 1 and 4 we have W1 D1 square minus is equal to W2 D2 square, or W1 by W2 is equal to D1 square by D2 square. So this is equation number 5. From figure A we find the radial clearance between the two springs. C is equal to D1 by 2 minus D2 by 2, that is equal to small d1 by 2 plus small d2 by 2. Usually the radial clearance between the two springs is taken as d1 minus d2 by 2. Therefore d1 by 2 capital d1 by 2 minus capital d2 by 2 minus small d1 by 2 plus small d2 by 2, that is equal to d1 minus d2 by 2, or d1 minus d2 by 2 is equal to d1. This is the equation number 6. Substituting the values of d1 and d2 in equation 6, we have C d1 minus C d2 by 2, that is equal to d1, or C d1 minus 2d1 is equal to C d2. Therefore d1 is equal to d1 into C minus 2, that is equal to C into d2. So common, d1 is common, we can common to the d. So d1 by d2 is equal to C by C minus 2. This is the equation number 7. So this is the concentric or composite springs. So next, problems on concentric springs. A concentric spring for an aircraft engine valve is to exert a maximum force of 5,000 Newton under an axial deflection of 40 mm. Both springs have the same free length, same solid length, and are subjected to equal maximum shear stress of 850 megapascals if the spring index for both the springs is 6. So find total shared by each spring, the main dimensions of both the springs, and the number of active coils in each spring. So assuming G is equal to 80 kN per mm square and dimensional clearance to equal to the difference between the wire diameter. So next, note down the given data. W is equal to 5000 Newton, delta is equal to 40 mm, tau 1 is equal to tau 2 is equal to 850 megapascal, that is equal to 850 Newton per mm square. C is equal to 6, G is equal to 80 kilonewton per mm square, that is equal to 80 into 10 cube Newton per mm square. So there the concentric spring as shown in the figure here. So the constant spring as shown in the figure means, so this is the figure. So already seen this derivation part. This figure here is the constant spring. So first of all, we can calculate the load shared by each spring. Let W1 and W2 is equal to load shared by outer and inner spring respectively. D1 and D2 is equal to diameter of the spring wire for outer and inner springs respectively, and capital D1 capital 2 is equal to mean diameter of the outer and inner springs respectively. Since the dimensional clearance is equal to the difference between the wire diameter, therefore capital D1 minus D2 is equal to capital D1 minus capital D2 minus small d1 plus small d2, that is equal to d1 minus d2, or d1 minus d2 is equal to 2d1. We know that d1 is equal to cd1 or d2 is equal to cd2. Therefore cd1 minus cd2 is equal to 2d1, or d1 by d2 is equal to c by c minus 2, that is equal to 6 by 6 minus 2 equal to 1.5. So d1 by d2 is equal to 1.5. This is equation number 1. We also know that W1 by W2 is equal to D1 by D2 whole square, that is equal to 1.5 whole square is equal to 2.25. This is equation number 2. And W1 plus W2 is equal to W equal to 5000 Newton. So from equation 1 and 2, 2 and 3, we find that W1 is equal to 3462 Newton and W2 is equal to 1538 Newton. So next we can calculate the main dimensions of both the springs. Main dimensions of both the springs. So we know that Wahl's stress factor for both the springs, K1 is equal to K2 is equal to 4C minus 1 by 4C minus 4 plus 0.615 by C, that is equal to 4 into 6 minus 1 by 4 into 6 minus 4 plus 0.615 by 6, that is equal to 1.2525. So and maximum shear stress induced in the outer spring, tau 1 is equal to 850 equal to K1 into 8 into W into C by pi into D1 square, that is equal to 12.2525 into 8 into 3462 into 6 by pi into D1 square, that is equal to 66,243 D1 square. So therefore we can calculating the D. So D1 square is equal to 66,243 divided by 850. So we can calculating D1 square is equal to 78, or D1 is equal to square root of 78. So D1 is equal to 8.83 mm. So this will be rounded to the 10 mm. And D1 is equal to C into D1, that is equal to 6 into D1, that is equal to 6 into 10, 60 mm. So capital D1 is equal to 60 mm. Similarly, maximum shear stress induced in the inner spring, tau 2 is equal to 850 into K2 into 8 into W2 into C by pi into D2 square, that is equal to 1.2525 into 8 into 1538 into 6 by pi into D2 square, that is equal to 29,428 into D2 square. So finally look at calculating the D2. is equal to C into D2, that is equal to 6 into 6. 6 6 is 36. Finally, the D2 is equal to 36 mm. So next we can calculate the number of active coils in each spring. So N1 and N2 is the number of active coils of the outer and inner springs respectively. We know that the axial deflection for the outer spring delta 40 is equal to 8 into W1 into CK between N1 by G into D1, that is equal to 8 into 3462 into 66 cube into N1 by 80 into 10 cube into 10. So finally the 7.48 into N1. So we can calculate the N1 is equal to 40 by 7.48, that is equal to 5.35. So this will be rounded to 6. So N1 is equal to 6. Assuming square and ground end for the spring, the total number of turns of the outer spring N1 dash is equal to 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. Therefore, solid length of the outer spring LS1 is equal to N1 dash into D1, that is equal to 8 into 10 equal to 80 mm. So total solid length of the outer spring is 80 mm. Let N2 be the total number of turns of the inner spring. Since both the springs have the same solid length, therefore N2 dash into D2 is equal to N1 dash into D2, N1 dash into D1. So therefore the value of D2 may be obtained from equation 1, that is D1 by D2 is equal to 1.5 or D2 is equal to D1 by 1.5, that is equal to 8.83 by 1.5, that is equal to 5.887. So this will be rounded to the 6 mm. So next N2 dash is equal to N1 dash into D1 by D2, that is equal to 8 into 10 by 6, that is equal to 13.3, that will be rounded to 14. Since N2 dash is equal to N2 plus 2. Since both these springs have the same free length, therefore free length of the outer spring equal to free length of the inner spring, that is equal to LS1 plus delta plus 0.18, that is equal to, so free length of the inner spring LS1 plus delta plus 0.14 delta. So substituting the values, that is equal to LS1 80 plus delta 40 plus 0.15 into 40, that is equal to 126 mm. Outer diameter of the springs are follow. Outer diameter of the outer spring, that is equal to capital D1 plus small d1, that is equal to 60 plus 10, that is equal to 70 mm. Inner diameter of the spring, that is equal to D1 minus capital D1 minus small d1, that is equal to 60 minus 10 is equal to 50 mm. Outer diameter of the inner spring, that is equal to capital D2 plus small d2 is equal to 36 plus 6 equal to 42 mm. So inner diameter of the inner spring is equal to D2 minus capital D2 minus small d2 is equal to 36 minus 6, that is equal to 30 mm. So this is the problem. So next problem in a constant springs, this is the second problem. A composite spring has two closed coil helical spring as shown in the figure B. So in this problem, so last problem we can see the figure A. So this problem we can see the helical spring as shown in the figure B. The outer spring is 15 mm, the larger than the inner spring. The outer spring has 10 coils of the mean diameter 40 mm and a wide diameter 5 mm. The inner spring has 8 coils of the mean diameter 30 mm and a wide diameter 4 mm. When the spring is subjected to an axial load of 400 newtons. So find compression of the each spring, load shared by the each spring, and shear stresses induced in the each spring. Finally, the modulus of rigidity may be taken as 84 kilonewton per mm square. So we can see the figure B. So this is the figure B. This is small d capital D1 and small d capital D2. Small d1 and small d2. These things is used to solve the problem. So next we can note down the given data. Given delta 1 is equal to L1 minus L2 is equal to 15 mm. N1 is equal to 10. Capital D1 is equal to 40 mm. Small d1 is equal to 5 mm. N2 is equal to 8. Capital D2 is equal to 30 mm. Small d2 is equal to 4 mm. Capital W is equal to 400 Newton. Capital G is equal to 84 into kilonewton per mm square. This will be converted to 84 into 10 cube Newton per mm square. So next we can calculate the compression of each spring. Since the outer spring of is 15 mm larger than the inner spring, therefore the inner spring will not take in any load till the outer spring is compressed by 15 mm. After this, both the springs are compressed together. Let P1 be the load on the outer spring to compresses it by 15 mm. We know that compression of the spring delta, so 15 is equal to 8 P1 D1 whole cube into N1 by G D1 power 4, that is equal to 8 P1 40 cube into 10 by 84 into 10 cube into 5 power 4, that is equal to 0.0975 P1. Since P1 is equal to, therefore P1 is equal to 15 by 0.0975, that is equal to 154 Newton. Now the remaining load W1 minus P1 is equal W minus P1 is equal to 400 minus 154, that is equal to 246 Newton is taken together by both the springs. Let delta 2 is equal to further compression of the outer spring or the total compression of the inner spring. Since for compressing the outer spring by 15 mm, the load required is 154 Newton. Therefore, the additional load required by the outer spring to compress it by delta 2 mm is given by P2 is equal to P1 by delta 1 into delta 2, that is equal to 154 by 15 into delta 2, that is equal to 10.27 delta 2. Let W2 is equal to load taken by the inner spring to compresses it by delta 2 mm. We know that delta 2 is equal to 8 into W2 into D2 whole cube into N2 by capital G into D2 power 4, that is equal to 8 W2 8 into W2 into 30 whole cube into 8 by 84 into 10 cube into 4 power 4, that is equal to 0. We can calculate the value 0.08 W2. Therefore, W2 is equal to delta 2 by 0.08, that is equal to 125 delta 2, and P2 plus W2 is equal to P1 minus P2 plus W, that is equal to W minus P1, that is equal to 400 minus 154, that is equal to 246 newtons, or 10.27 delta 2 plus 12.5 delta 2, that is equal to 246, or delta 2 is equal to 246 divided by 22.77. So finally we are calculating delta 2 is equal to 10.8 mm. So therefore total compression of the outer spring delta 1 plus delta 2 is equal to 0. Delta 1 50 plus 10.8, that is equal to 25.8 mm. So next we can calculate the load shared by each spring. So we know that the load shared by the outer spring W1 is equal to P1 plus P2, that is equal to 154 plus 10.27 delta 2. So substituting delta 2 in this formula, so that is equal to 154 plus 10.27 into 10.8, that is equal to 265 newtons. So W1 is equal to 265 newtons, and load shared by the inner spring W2 is equal to 112.5 delta 2. So substituting the delta 2, so 12.5 into 10.8, W2 is equal to 135 newton. Therefore, the load shared by the inner spring is also given by W2 is W2 minus W1 minus 400, that is equal to 265 minus 135 newton. So next we are going to calculate the shear stresses induced in each spring. We know that the spring index of the outer spring C1 is equal to capital D1 by small d1, that is equal to 40 by 5, that is equal to 8, and the spring index of the inner spring C2 is equal to capital D2 by small d2, that is equal to 30 by 4, that is equal to 7.5. Therefore, Wahl's stress factor of the outer spring K1 is equal to 4 C1 minus 1 by 4 C1 minus 4 plus 0.615 by C1, that is equal to 4 into 8 minus 1 by 4 into 8 minus 4 plus 0.615 by 8, that is equal to 1.184. So and Wahl's stress factor for the inner spring K2 is equal to 4C2 minus 1 by 4C2 minus 4 plus 0.615 by C2, that is equal to 4 into 7.5 minus 1 by 4 into 7.5 minus 4 plus 0.615 by 7.5. So we can calculate the value K2 is equal to 1.197. So we know that shear stresses induced in the outer spring delta 1 is equal to K1 into 8 W1 into D1 by pi into D1 square, pi into D1 cube. So substituting the values, that is equal to 1.184 into 8 into 265 into 40 by pi into 5 cube, that is equal to 255.6 Newton per mm square, that is equal to tau 1 is equal to 255.6 megapascals, and the shear stress induced in the inner spring tau 2 is equal to K2 into 8 into W2 into D2 by pi into D2 cube. So substituting the values, that is equal to 1.197 into 8 into 135 into 30 by pi into 4 cube, that is equal to 192.86 Newton per mm square. Tau 2 is equal to 192.86 megapascals. So next, helical torsion spring. The helical torsion spring as shown in the figure, so may be made from round, rectangular or circular wire. So if by using the helical torsion spring, it will be in the shape of round, rectangular or square wire. These are wound in similar manner as helical compression or tension springs, but the ends are shaped to transmit torque. The primary stresses in helical torsion spring is bending stresses, whereas in compression or tension spring, the stresses are torsional stresses. The helical torsion springs are widely used for transmitting small torques as indoor hinges, brush holders in electric motors, automobile, starters, etc. So you can see the figure. This is the helical torsion spring. So this is the side view of the spring. This is the front view, top view of the spring. So weight W will arrange the distance between the center distance to top distance is our distance y. So weight W is arranged in horizontal direction, toward and forward direction. A little consideration will show that the radius of curvature of the coil changes when the twisting moment is applied to the spring. Thus, the wire is under pure bending according to AM. What the bending stresses in the helical torsion spring made of round wire is sigma b is equal to k into 32 into capital M by pi into dq. That is equal to k into 32 into w into y by pi into dq, where k is equal to Wahal stress factor 4C2 minus C minus 1 by 4C2 minus 4C. So capital C is a spring index, M is equal to bending moment, W into Y, W is equal to load acting on the spring, Y is equal to distance between the load from the spring axis, and small d is equal to diameter of the spring wire, and total angle of the twist or angle deflection. Theta is equal to mi by ei, that is equal to m into pi into d into n by e into pi d power 4 by 64, that is equal to 64 into m into capital D into small n by e into d cube d power 4, where L is small l is the length of the wire, pi into dn, E equal to Young's modulus. So I is equal to moment of inertia, pi by 64 into d power 4, capital D equal to diameter of the spring, and n equal to number of turns. So and deflection delta is equal to theta into y, that is equal to 64 into m into d into n by e into d power 4 into capital Y. So when the spring is made up of rectangular wire having width b and thickness t, then sigma b is equal to k into 6m by t into b square, that is equal to k into 6 into m into y by t into b square, where k is equal to 3c square minus c minus 0.8 by 3c square minus 3c. So angular deflection delta is equal to 12 into pi into capital M into capital D into n by capital E into t into b cube, and delta is equal to theta into y equal to 12 into pi into m into d into n by E into t into b cube into y. So substituting theta value in this equation. So in case of springs is made of square wire which equal side equal to b, then substituting t equal to b in the above relation, we have delta b is equal to k into 6 m into b cube, that is equal to k into 6w into y by b cube. Theta is equal to 12 into pi into capital M into capital D into n by capital A into b power 4, and deflection delta is equal to 12 into pi into m into d into n by e into b power 4 into y. So this theta value, this formula will be used in the problem. So this formula is also given into the Jalaluddin data book. Since the diameter of the spring D reduces the coil wind up under the applied load, therefore clearance must be provided when the spring wire is to be wound round a mandrel. A small clearance must also be provided between the adjacent coil in order to prevent sliding friction. Then coming to the problems on helical torsion spring. A helical torsion spring of mean diameter 60 mm is made up of round wire of 6 mm diameter. If a torque of 6 Newton meter is applied on the spring, find the bending stresses induced and the angular deflection of the spring in degrees. The spring index is 10 and modulus of elasticity of the spring material is 200 kN per mm square. the number of effective tons may be taken as 5.5. So by note down the given data. Given capital D is equal to 60 mm, small d is equal to 6 mm, capital M is equal to 6 Newton meter, that is equal to 6000 Newton millimeter, C is equal to 10, E is equal to 2000 kilonewton per mm square, that is equal to 200 into 10 cube Newton per mm square. So finally N is equal to 5.5. Bending stresses induced. We know that Wahl stress factor for a spring made of round wire K is equal to 4 C square minus C minus 1 by 4 C square minus 4C, that is equal to 4 into 10 square minus 10 minus 1 by 4 into 10 square minus 4 into 10, that is 1.08. Therefore bending stress induced sigma B is equal to K into 32 into M by pi into D cube, that is equal to 1.08 into 32 into 6000 by pi into 6 cube, that is equal to 305.5 Newton per mm square or megapascal. So therefore the bending stresses sigma B is equal to 305.5 megapascal. So next calculate the angular deflection of the spring. So we know that the angular deflection of the spring in radius. So theta is equal to 64 into m into capital D into n by E into d power 4. This formula is already seen in the before derivation. So theta is equal to 64 into m 6000 into capital D 60 into n 5.5 by E 200 into 10 cube into capital small d 6 power 4, that is equal to 0.49 radians. So theta is equal to 0.49 radians. So this radians will be converted to degrees centigrade. So 0.49 into 180 divided by pi, that is equal to theta is equal to 28 degrees. So next, flat spiral spring. A flat spring is a long thin strip of elastic material wound like a spiral as shown in the figure. These springs are frequently used in watches and gramophones, etc. When the outer or inner end of this type of spring is wound up in such a way that there is a tendency in the increase of number of spirals of the spring, the strain energy is stored into the spirals. This energy is utilized in any useful way while the spiral open out slowly. Usually, the inner end of the spring is clamped to the arbor, while the outer end may be pinned or clamped. Since the radius of curvature of every spiral decreases with the spring is wound up, therefore the material of the spring is in state of pure bending. So you can see the figure. So this is a capital A and B is the two ends of the spring. So this spring is used in the watches and gramophones. So the distance between the central axis to the load distance is the y. Let W is equal to force applied at the outer end A of the spring. Y is equal to distance of the central of gravity of the spring from A. L is equal to length of the strip forming the spring. B is equal to width of the spring, width of the strip. T is equal to thickness of the strip. I is equal to moment of inertia of the spring section. B into T cubed by 12, and Z is equal to section modulus of the spring section, that is equal to B T square by 6. Since Z is equal to I by Y, that is equal to B T cube by 12 into T by 2, that is equal to B T square by 6. When the end A of the spring is pulled up the force W, then the bending moment of the spring at a distance y from the line of action of the W is given by capital M is equal to capital W into y. The greatest bending moment occurs in the spring at B, which is at the maximum distance from the application of W. Therefore, bending moment at B is MB equal to bending moment, that is equal to M maximum, that is equal to W into 2y, that is equal to 2 into W into y equal to 2M. Therefore, maximum bending stresses induced in the spring material, sigma B is equal to M max by Z, that is equal to 2W into Y by B into T square by 6, that is equal to 12W into Y by B into T square, that is equal to 12 into M by B T square. Assuming that both ends of the springs are clamped, the angular deflection in radians of the spring is given by theta is equal to M into I by E into I, that is equal to 12 M I by E B into T cube. Since I is equal to B into T cube by 12, substituting the values. So finally the deflection delta is equal to theta into y, that is equal to M into I into y by EI, that is equal to 12 into M into I into y by E into B into T cube equal to 12 into W into y square into I by E into B into L. Therefore, finally, sigma B into Y into L I by E into T. Since sigma B is equal to 12 into W into Y into B L square. So, substitute in the value sigma B. So, finally, we can calculate in the deflection formula delta is equal to sigma B into Y into I by E into T. So, next, the strain energy stored in the spring, that is equal to half into M into theta, that is equal to half into M into I by EI, that is equal to 1 by 2 into M square L by EI, that is equal to 1 by 2 into W square into Y square into L by E into BT cube into 12, that is equal to 6 into W square into Y square into L by EBT cube, that equals 6 into W square into Y square into L by E into B into T cube into 24 BT by 24 BT, that is equal to, so multiplying under numerator and denominator by 24 BT, that is equal to 144 W Y square by E B square T power 4 into BTL by 24. So finally the strain energy stored in the spring, that is equal to sigma B whole square by 24E into BTL by BTL, that is equal to sigma B whole square is equal to 24 into E, that is equal to volume of the spring, since volume of the spring is equal to BTL. So coming to the problems on flat spherical spring. A spherical spring is made up of flat strip 6 mm wide and 0.25 mm thickness. The length of the strip L is equal to 2.25 meters. Assuming the maximum shear stress tau is equal to 80 megapascals occurs at the point of greater bending moment. Calculate the bending moment, the number of turns to wind up the spring, and the strain energy stored in the spring. So taking E is equal to 200 kilonewton per mm square. So for note down the given data, B is equal to 6, T is equal to small t is equal to 0.25 mm. So length of the strip L is equal to 2.5 mm, that is equal to 2500 mm. So maximum shear stress tau is equal to 800 megapascal, that is equal to 800 Newton per mm square. Modulus of x modulus E is equal to 200 kilonewton per mm square. This will be converted to newton per mm square. 200 into 10 cube newton per mm square. So bending moment of the spring, let M is equal to bending moment of the spring. So we know that the maximum bending stresses in the spring material sigma B 800 equal to 12 into M by Bt square, that is equal to 12 into M by 6 into 0.25 whole square, that is equal to final 32 M. Therefore we can calculate the M. So M is equal to 800 divided by 32 equal to 25 Newton mm. Next we can calculate the number of turns to wind up the spring. So we know that the angular deflection of the spring delta is equal to 12 into mi by 10, 12 into m into L by E into B into T cube, that is equal to, substituting the values, 12 into 25 into 2500 by 200 into 10 cube into 6 into 0.25 whole cube. So we can calculating theta is equal to 40 radians. Since one turn of the spring is equal to the q by radians, therefore number of turns to wind up the spring is equal to 440 divided by 2 pi, that is equal to 6.36 tons. So last one, we can calculate the strain energy stored in the spring. So what is the strain energy stored in the spring? So we know that the strain energy stored in the spring is half into m into theta, that is equal to, so substitute in the value, so 1 by 2 into m 24 into theta 640. So we can calculate in the value, energy stored in the spring is 480 Newton millimeter. So this is the problem solved. Flat spiral springs and concentric springs. Thank you.